from New York, it's Saturday night!
From Gilda, Chevy, John, and Dan, to Eddie, Dana, Mike, and Will, Saturday Night Live turned unknowns into stars and forever changed the face of late-night TV.
Okay. You little mother.
Never mind.
Now, find out how it all began and how SNL survived and thrived for 3 decades. For the next 2 hours, sit back and enjoy the laughs as we roll the clips you can't forget and reveal the secrets you haven't heard.
Okay, you win. That's right, Pat.
We'll feature exclusive interviews, behind-the-scenes footage, and some of the funniest moments ever shown on television.
Like butter.
Well, Lottie frickin' God!
It doesn't go on because it's ready. It goes on because it's 11:30.
This is Saturday Night Live TV Tales.
Well, isn't that special?
Like a martini.
On October 11th, 1975, at 11:30 p.m., a comedy revolution shook the gray walls of Rockefeller Center.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
But this revolution, at NBC's Manhattan headquarters, was strictly for laughs.
We are the wild and crazy guys!
Before Saturday Night Live, the small screen was safe after most people went to bed. But a 30-year-old producer, a rowdy gang of rebellious writers, and a brilliant cast of comics called the Not Ready for Primetime Players changed all of that in 90 minutes.
We knew we wanted to go live, to punch holes in television as it stood at the time.
We want to do a show that is on the edge, that is leading edge, where we can do more risque stuff late night.
It would look like no other show, and it would hopefully sound like no other show.
Back in 1975, NBC aired repeats of The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson after the 11 o'clock news. Network executives wanted to get rid of the reruns and target a younger audience of baby boomers. They enlisted Lorne Michaels, a writer and sometime performer from Canada. Michaels' resume included edgy shows like the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour and Laugh-In. He was tapped into the world of underground improv and stand-up comedy that swept Canada and the US. Lorne was set on rounding up the best and brightest of the new generation of comics and letting them loose on the air. But Michael's agent, Bernie Brillstein, was skeptical.
It was a huge risk for everyone. I mean, it's like saying, okay, we're going to get a band of fools together and do a television show, 11:30 Saturday night on NBC. It had never been done, and it was live.
To help develop his project, Lorne needed a right-hand man. Chevy Chase, a writer for the Smothers Brothers Comedy Hour, fit the bill.
Chevy Chase I'd met in a line waiting to see a Monty Python film at a film festival in Los Angeles.
I was joking around. I guess he noticed it and asked, what does he do? Where is he from? What is he? The next day, I was asked to come and see him at the Chateau Marmont.
I asked him later on if he'd be a writer on the show, and he wanted to perform, and I wasn't prepared to commit to him being in the cast.
So I was hired as basically the head writer.
In 1975, NBC wasn't the only network trying to grab a slice of the youth market. ABC was developing a variety show called Saturday Night Live with larger-than-life sports personality Howard Cosell.
And it was a live show. It had started the same year, and that's why we couldn't call ourselves Saturday Night Live, which is really why I had to start the show by saying live from New York, it's Saturday night, so that people knew that it was a live show. I wanted to call it Saturday Night Live without Howard Cosell, but we couldn't do that.
In April, Michael set out to find his offbeat talent. Gilda Radner, a 29-year-old performer with the Second City comedy troupe in Toronto, was the first cast member hired.
I saw Gilda in Godspell in Toronto. She sort of represented what I was looking for. I mean, she was funny in a spontaneous kind of way. As herself, she was smart and enormously talented. And so she was the first person I went after.
Next, Michaels approached Lorraine Newman from the Groundlings comedy group in Los Angeles. Lorraine's resume included studying mime with Marcel Marceau and a small TV gig that led to a big opportunity.
I had worked for Lorne Michaels once before in a Lily Tomlin special, and he told me about this show that he was producing. He said, "How would you like to live in New York for 13 weeks?" And I just, you know, I was 23 years old, and it seemed like the most exciting thing I'd ever heard of. And he said the show would be a cross between Monty Python and 60 Minutes.
Meanwhile, hundreds of hopefuls flocked to New York to try out for Saturday night. The idea of a live run-and-gun show appealed to many performers, especially 27-year-old Jane Curtin.
I had just come out of an improv group, and I was doing theater and commercials.
Jane was quite pretty. She was a different look than Gilda and Lorraine.
By that point, Gilda and Lorraine were set, and there seemed to be a chemistry between Gilda and Jane and with Lorraine and Jane, and so that's the way that decision was made.
Michaels wanted wild, and 26-year-old John Belushi was a bona fide rebel. Belushi was working on the National Lampoon Weekly radio show, as well as the magazine's Off-Broadway Review.
John wouldn't audition, wasn't interested in television, and I had to convince Lorne to audition him, because he had told Lorne, "I don't like television." Lorne, then the hell with it, you know. But we just knew that how funny John was, so he eventually auditioned.
In walks John Belushi, this massive, hulking guy, and we were terrified of him. He was going to kill somebody, and he had his stick with him, you know? And suddenly, he put his hair in a little top knot, and he took the stick up, and he thought he was going to whack someone, and then he went, and he pretended to play pool with the stick.
Comedian and writer Richard Belzer was at the audition and watched as Belushi blew away the competition.
It was one of the most spellbinding, funny, captivating things that anyone had ever seen. It was like a vindication, and okay, you were testing me, you want to see if I'm funny? Okay, here.
A Canadian named Dan Aykroyd, who performed with Gilda Radner at Second City, knew Michaels from Toronto. Despite the friendship, Aykroyd didn't think the gig was a sure thing.
Came this close to not getting it, and you know, Lorne was wondering whether John and I would be more trouble than we were worth, so he wasn't sure whether he was going to hire us.
Bill Murray, a graduate of Chicago's Second City troupe, also tried out for one of the highly coveted spots.
Bill Murray was in a show that what he was doing was very strong and a little bit dark.
Michaels decided to hire Aykroyd over Murray. Bill went over to the Howard Cosell show on ABC and became part of a comedy troupe called the Ready for Primetime Players. Michaels then tapped an unlikely candidate, Garrett Morris. At age 38, Morris became the oldest cast member.
I was a writer for Saturday Night Live, and Lorne was looking for a black person, actually, or someone non-white to be a part of the group. And he didn't find anybody. I had done a movie called Coolie High. Apparently Gilda and John had seen it and told Lorne to look at it, and then to, if he liked it, to audition me for the show. So I didn't expect this at all.
And at the 11th hour, the 7th and final spot was filled by writer Chevy Chase.
It was only after everybody had been hired that Lorne decided to put everybody on videotape and see how they did there. At that time, he said, "Chevy, why don't you get up there and do something?" So I did a little news item. And he said, "I think we ought to do that. We ought to have you do news."
By the fall of 1975, Lorne Michaels had his team. They got their name from a writer who thumbed his nose at the competition.
The name Not Ready for Primetime Players came from Herb Sargent, who was the most senior writer at the beginning. And the show was called NBC's Saturday Night. And the Not Ready for Primetime Players, as they were called, was just a list of names.
Finding the cast was only half the equation. Michaels needed a stable of young writers who could turn television upside down.
It was a very eclectic group of people, and all of whom I thought in some way or another were cool.
In September 1975, as launch date approached, the show's youthful energy rattled NBC's headquarters at Rockefeller Center.
We were totally arrogant. We thought we were like the hottest new young television show that was about to hit the universe, and so we behaved that way. And everyone loathed us and envied us at the same time.
The system was the college term paper system. Put it off as long as you can and try to amuse yourself as much as possible while you're putting it off.
People would sleep in their offices. They would work all day and all night.
Danny and John's, they shared an office, and that it really smelled bad. I can remember looking into Danny's scalp, and there was a big green shampoo dot on his scalp where he had just not really rubbed it in that well, that he probably did it in the sink, you know.
While the cast and writers pulled all-nighters cramming for their debut, Michaels scouted the comedy clubs. New York was a playground for rising stand-up comics, and Michaels wanted someone fresh as a special guest. One up-and-comer caught his eye.
Lorne Michaels came in to Catch a Rising Star and said, "We'd love you to be part of this new show called Saturday Night." I was more excited about that than anything. Now, this was a show for us.
Those final days before the premiere, the cast didn't know what to expect.
Everybody was so excited to do it on the one hand. On the other hand, we felt it was late night, top of the minors. We got nothing to lose, probably nothing to gain. So let's try to do the funniest stuff we can.
On Friday night, October 10th, Lorne Michaels conducted a complete run-through of the show. It was a total disaster.
First dress rehearsal we had went way over. It was very ragged and it was very scary.
I unfortunately got bumped from the very first show because this piece I was doing ran too long, and that was devastating. What a setback. What a terrible thing.
On the evening of October 11th, 1975, minus Billy Crystal, the cast of Saturday Night took their places.
When the band started playing at about 11:20 or 11:25, and that adrenaline rush, which is like nothing in the world, and you instantly you rise up and you're on point for 90 minutes. And all of your nerve endings are exposed, and you're just right out there, and you're ready for whatever.
Repeat after me. I would like to feed your fingertips.
To feed your fingertips.
To the Wolverines.
To the Wolverines.
Comedian George Carlin hosted the show.
Talk about a live show.
And a young unknown named Andy Kaufman made a special appearance. The musical guests that night were Billy Preston and Janice Ian.
I think people were exhilarated and thrilled because nobody had done this before. More importantly, we didn't know what was going to happen.
The new kids at the Rock made it through their first show without any catastrophes. But could they do it 20 times a year?
Wednesday, Linda Carter had what it took to be Wonder Woman, but her super talent couldn't save her from a harsh reality.
Her whole life was being threatened.
It's the story you haven't heard. Linda Carter, this Wednesday at 8 on an all-new E! True Hollywood Story. Tomorrow, Spider-Mania is taking over the red carpet. See the stars of this summer's hottest superhero movie.
Wow.
Live from the red carpet at the Spider-Man premiere. Tomorrow at 10, only on E!
Getting Saturday Night up and running was hard enough. But after the debut episode, the cast and crew suddenly realized they had to do it again and again and again.
I would say to Lorne, you know, we're doing a 90-minute special live every week. That's impossible. And he would like be going, I know, don't tell anybody.
It didn't take long for Lorne Michaels and his overworked staff of writers to find a formula that worked.
Originally, when the show started, it was clearly a writer-driven show, and a cast was sort of there to execute the writer's vision. But what those people brought to our vision was, you know, perfect, you know, in terms of making the show what it was. So it very quickly started to be that we would look to the performers for ideas.
And performance was what the Saturday Night Gang was all about.
Can I have a sandwich, please?
I had this thought that the shark was just a little bit brighter than the people, but not very bright himself. And that's why I'd knock on the door. I'd go, Mrs. Callan?
Candy Graham.
Candy Graham, my foot. You get out of here before I call the police. You're the shark and you know it.
Wait, I'm only a dolphin, ma'am.
A dolphin? Well, okay.
The women of Saturday Night more than held their own with the boys. Jane Curtin, Lorraine Newman, and Gilda Radner captivated audiences in Studio 8H. Radner's physical feats were part of her brilliance, especially when she played the hyperactive character, Judy Miller.
Judy Miller was a little girl who did shows in her room. She jumped up and down in her bed and did commercials, right? And of course, Gilda, who was the most phenomenal physical comedian ever on this earth, broke her ribs in dress when she first did the Judy Miller show, and yet went on and did the air show with broken ribs, because she kept throwing herself into the closets going, I will run to France. No, I will run to Germany.
I am going to kill you right now. Oh, no, no, no. You cannot kill me. Oh, no.
The talented cast made the comedy look easy. The Bees were instantly popular.
What do you want from us? I mean,
We want your pollen.
But not everyone loved the sketch.
John especially hated it because the costume, you know, the show was about quick changes. The bee costume was really hard to get in and out of. Plus, you know, God help you if you had to go to the bathroom.
Meanwhile, Belushi and Aykroyd emerged as a dynamic duo.
I had something with John, you know, where we had a partnership. Belushi, you know, was just, we were able to feed off each other and build comedy together.
Dan and John were like brothers. It was really a great friendship.
John and Danny meshed. They shared the same office. Put a cot in there, did what they do in there. I don't mean that they were homosexuals or something, but they were very close friends.
They were soulmates. They filled in each other's blanks. When they did the Blues Brothers, they were an amazing combination.
From the get-go, Saturday Night established nothing was off limits, especially during Weekend Update with Chevy Chase.
The Post Office announced today that it is going to issue a stamp commemorating prostitution in the United States. It's a 10-cent stamp, but if you want to lick it, it's a quarter.
You know, one time Rosanna Dana, was eating a spare rib and a little